Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you were mid-battle, chasing, defending, building walls, and suddenly, everything went quiet? No pings, no texts, no calls, just silence. It's that moment after the storm passes in Fortnite, when the map goes still, and all you can hear is your own heartbeat. That's what it feels like when you both stop contacting each other. It's not the end of the match. It's a reset. And in that silence, the real game begins. Before we drop in, hit subscribe to Stoic Mysteries, because in this channel we don't chase chaos, we build fortresses of calm. And watch till the end, because what you're about to hear will change how you handle silence, love and loss, and in the game of life itself. Number 1, the break, when communication crashes like a bad drop. Every connection starts like a hot drop, fast, exciting, full of energy. But every drop eventually leads to the circle closing in. At first it's small signs, less texting, shorter replies. The emotional map starts to shrink, and then the final ping disappears. You open the chat, but there's no response. You send a message, but it's like building in the wrong direction. No one's there. That's when you realize the match has changed. You're still trying to build bridges, but they've already switched zones. And this is where most men fall apart. They keep rushing into the storm, texting, calling, chasing, hoping to rebuild what's already collapsed. But silence is a storm you can't outrun. The harder you chase, the more damage you take. So what do? You stop moving, you heal. You build your emotional walls. Because silence isn't the enemy, it's the safe zone. It's where words stop distracting you and truth starts spawning in. When you both stop contacting each other, the noise fades and the real terrain appears. You see who was playing with you and who was just looting your energy. That's the first flip. The moment you stop chasing and start fortifying. 2, the void, when the storm closes in. This is where it gets hard. You're inside the storm now. You want to reach out. You want to send that hey message, that emotional flare, just to see if they'll notice. But silence? That's your test. It's like standing still while the circle closes. Your instinct says run, but the stoic in you whispers wait. Every minute of no contact feels like losing shield. You replay memories like rewatching your best clips and trying to figure out where you went wrong. But here's the truth. Silence is not you losing HP. It's you learning to heal without medkits. Psychologically, something powerful happens here. When you stop chasing, you remove their control. You're no longer showing your position. No pings, no movement, no tells. And suddenly, they start to wonder. In their mind, your silence becomes mystery. And mystery is the ultimate high ground. Meanwhile, your mind fights a different battle. Every day you don't reach out. You earn XP, experience points, and emotional control. Every temptation you resist is a new level unlocked. Most players fold here. They run back into the storm for temporary relief. But the ones who master silence, they emerge with shield, peace, and clarity. That's the stoic way. 3, the mirror, when silence reflects the map back to you. Then something strange happens. The silence stops feeling like an empty lobby. It becomes a mirror. You start to see the full map and where you built wrong, where you overextended, where you lost focus. You realize how much energy you spent building for someone who never planned to stay in your squad. And that's painful, but freeing. You stop blaming. You start observing. You recognize your own patterns and the way you overgive, the way you fear losing connection. And guess what? On the other side of the map, they start noticing too. Your absence hits harder than your presence ever did, because silence is the rarest loot in this game. Everyone talks, but only a few can stay quiet. They remember your calm, your patience, your steady energy. And now that you've gone radio silent, that space becomes heavy. That's the mirror effect. Silence reflects the emotional landscape exactly as it is. If the connection was real, it grows in stillness. If it was built on illusion, it crumbles. And now you see it, you were never trying to win them. You were trying to win yourself back. Before the shift, when the power dynamics flip. Hold your silence long enough and something fascinating happens. The power dynamic shifts. At first they feel relief. The noise stops. The pressure's gone. But as time passes, the calm becomes unsettling. Because silence removes the radar. They can't see your position. They don't know if you've moved on, leveled up, or found a new squad. That's when the panic sets in. They start checking your social media, like scanning the minimap and searching for any signal. And when they find nothing, the storm hits them. That's the game flipping. The same silence that once hurt you now haunts them. But here's where the Stoic wisdom comes in. You don't use silence as a weapon. You use it as armor. You're not trying to win the match. You're trying to master the map. You don't need to build higher than them. You just need to stay centered, grounded, and still. Because in every psychological battle, the one who can hold silence longer controls the tempo. You've shifted from chasing validation to defending your peace. That's how silence turns from weakness into skill, like mastering recoil or perfect timing. You've leveled up. 5. The revelation. When you realize the game was never about them. Then comes the quietest moment but also the deepest one. You realize it was never about them. All this time you thought you were trying to win back love, but you were actually trying to win back your sense of worth. The silence made that visible. It stripped away distractions, left you face to face with yourself. You start to see that you weren't chasing a person. You were chasing the feeling of being enough. And that realization? That's your ultimate loot drop. You stop checking your phone. You stop counting the days of no contact. You stop hoping for a comeback round. Because now you're playing a different game entirely. This is the Stoic upgrade, where peace becomes your victory royale, where your energy isn't spent chasing but creating, where your focus shifts from winning her back to building yourself forward. You stop trying to explain silence. You start embodying it. You become calm, stable, unshakable. And that's when you truly respawn, not in her world, but in your own. 6. The rebirth, when silence becomes your superpower. Weeks later, you wake up, and something's changed. Silence no longer feels like loss. It feels like mastery. You've stopped waiting for notifications. You've stopped replaying what-ifs. You've started living like a man who built his own base. Steady, grounded, stormproof. That's when life gives you the real test. A message pops up. Hey, been thinking about you. You look at it, calm, unmoved, because silence already gave you everything you needed. You don't need to chase closure. You've already built it. You don't need to rebuild the old tower. You're constructing something new. And that's the Stoic victory royale. Not when they come back, but when you no longer need them to. Because silence isn't about revenge. It's about rebirth. It's about standing in the center of the map, storm all around you, and realizing you are your own safe zone. So if you're in that quiet place right now, fighting the urge to text, remember, silence isn't punishment. It's protection. Stay still, hold your ground, and let your peace be the loudest sound in the room. Conclusion, the final circle. And now we've reached the final zone, the last circle. This is where silence stops being a tactic and becomes transformation. It's not about winning a power game anymore. It's about realizing you've already survived the storm, rebuilt your base, and upgraded your soul in the process. When you stopped reaching out, when you stopped chasing, but you didn't lose the match. You leveled up. You stopped playing their game and started mastering your own. The avoidant who once had all the power now stands in confusion. Your silence became their mirror, reflecting back everything they ran from. And that mirror, it doesn't lie. You've learned that not every battle needs to be fought. Not every player deserves your energy, and not every love deserves your final life. Because sometimes the real victory is not in chasing what left, but in standing still long enough to feel what stayed. So the next time silence hits, don't panic. Breathe, let the storm pass. And remember, this isn't game over. This is your respawn. Your next drop will be wiser, calmer, more intentional. Because now, you don't play for attention. You play for peace. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time, stay grounded, stay unshaken, stay stoic. Stoic Mysteries.